Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Voices of Variety. Today I'm talking to Danny Posthill, and over the years we have realised we have many mutual friends. Paul Eastwood was one. Sadly, since this was recorded, Paul has passed away, and it still isn't easy saying those words. I've not really spoke about this on a podcast to date, but Danny was one of his closest friends, and it feels right just to pay tribute to Paul here. Paul was known as the real stand-up. He was a real cheeky chappy, but he was a proper laugh in real life and on stage. He knew all the lines. He was such a great ad-libber and a brilliant stand-up comedian, and loved by his peers, including his ultimate inspiration, Jim Davidson. Danny, myself, and my God, a comedy festival of faces turned out to pay their respects to Paul at his service in High Wycombe in September 2021. It must have been the saddest yet funniest funeral I have ever been to. Even though the service has come and gone, it's still hard to think Paul's not here anymore. He's left a legacy on our circuit. He will always be talked about and remembered, and there's a special tribute show for him on Chroma Pier on the 31st of October 2021, where he will be thought about a lot and talked about by many of his pals, performing in 2 special shows in Paul's name. Paul was one of my early guests on Eyes and Teeth, and you will find the episode there, which is nice to look back on and enjoy his voice, surreal as it is. So let's spare a thought for our friend Paul and keep his comedy business, Pie, a growing success, as we all stand by his wife Korea and son Harry in the following years. We miss you, sausage. Danny Posthill is a first-class impressionist. Danny Posthill is a first-class impressionist and is always working on something new, whether it's a new character or idea for online content. Throughout the pandemic, he was posting new clips and coming up with new ways of putting on live shows and connecting with people via Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. In this chat today, we talk about Mike Yarwood, Bobby Davro, Francine Lewis, Diane Abbott, Donald Trump, Gaza, The Grim Reaper, Britain's Got Talent, and being on the road as an act. He performs some fantastic voices on here today and has brilliant anecdotes, so sit back and enjoy the many vocals of Danny Posthill.
Eyes and Teeth.
Oh my God, is that a book about Mike Yarwood in the background there?
Do you know what? I was talking to Martin Daniels last week, and that was up there, and I thought, oh, Danny's coming on. And I'll put Mike there. Yeah, I'm not ready yet.
You knew I'd spot that straight away.
Nice. Have you read it?
No, I haven't read it, mate. No, but I've met Mike. He was lovely. He was a really nice bloke.
I saw the picture. He's in Brinsworth now, isn't he? I think he's in Brinsworth House.
Is he? Oh, yeah. I think John Culshaw was telling me about it. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he seemed in good nick when I met him. When I seen him, you know, we sat in an Indian restaurant. We were all doing impressions. And It's mad because obviously he was doing all the older people, but he does them brilliantly. I mean, he was doing Larry Grayson and he didn't even need to open his mouth. He was just doing the actions.
Wow.
And it was just beautiful to watch because he's basically, if you look at it, he basically put the fame of impressionism on the map, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I'm trying to think beyond him, and I don't think I can. No. I mean, I'm not an impressionist, but no, I think Mike Yarwood, everyone goes back and they stop at Mike Yarwood, don't they?
They do.
I've seen some stuff online, and he's brilliant.
He's the godfather of impressionism. Him and Rich Little, you know, in America.
Right, yes. Yeah, Rich.
I met Rich Little out in Vegas when I went to Vegas, and I bought his book, and I still haven't got round to reading it yet.
Wow. Have you read any books?
No.
You've not had time, actually. You've not had time.
Well, to be honest, I've started reading. Well, I was reading 1984, which is a bit political. So I was reading that. That's a good book. I've read.
A bit behind then.
This one's a great, this one's a great book. It's called The Courage to be Disliked. And it talks about the inferiority complex. So, you know, if you're ever in a green room with another comic who's like sold out arenas, just remember you're the same as him. We're all comedians. We're all acts.
That's interesting. Wow.
And that's one of the major factors is the inferior. And if you know, you can say, for example, I don't know, you've got issues with things in life. You can get help from other people, but there's only you who can do it. There's only you, and it's just it's just a brilliant book to read, you know.
It's a great mindset. Yeah, kind of it gets you thinking about those realism.
That's what it is.
We've learned new things, haven't we? I started to do an online radio show about a month ago, and I just done it for a month just to see if I could do it and like link the songs. I love music, so really loved it. I mean, no one was listening. I told my mum about it, and she clicked on and listened, but it was really nice I was writing gags in between each songs, linking the songs cheesily.
Oh, nice one.
But I just love music, so it's nice to kind of link that. And who'd have thought of ventriloquist on the radio? It's not going to bloody work, is it?
Well, they tried it. They've done it years ago, didn't they? What was the guy's name? Because I remember Billy Connolly doing a gag about it.
Did he really? I'll have to find that.
Billy Connolly says, I mean, there's a guy who's a ventriloquist.
Peter
I mean,
Bruff.
on the radio.
Yeah.
How do you know if he was any good? You know?
Oh, I love that. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I've got all of Billy's stuff here. He doesn't know. I have to get it back without him knowing. So all the DVDs, all of the travel shows I've been watching the last few weeks, and
He's incredible,
I love him. And then I'm watching it, think it's a travel show, it'll be all right. And then he goes into his stand-up halfway through, doesn't he? And then, but my daughters are there. I can't watch the travel show either in the daytime because kids are there. Welcome to the show, the fantastic Danny Posthill. Hello, sir.
Hiya, mate. How are you?
I was really worried because this morning I was just reading through an intro that I'd done earlier, and Posthill's right. Is that right, Posthill?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I've had all kinds of different names.
Okay,
like, doing the clubs and stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Postman. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? Funny enough, the best intro I ever heard, right, that somebody told me was there was this guy, and he was the MC, the compere of some working men's club in like Batley or somewhere like that. Oh, yeah. And he used to give the acts a really big build up and then forget the name of the acts before he brought them on. But what he used to go, right, we've got a cracking turn coming on now. She's absolutely fantastic. I seen her up the road last week. He always seen them up the road last week. Do you know what I mean? Seen them up the road last week. Fantastic act.
Classic.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Please welcome. And then he'd forget, and then he'd shout in the wings, "What's your name again, love?" Like when the mic's away from his mouth. Mickey Louise, you know. Well, there was one guy. Yeah. Well, there was a time when people were saying to him, "Look, mate, you can't be doing this all the time. You know, you're going to have to write it on your hand or something." Well, he had a singer on. It was a guitarist called Rio, and anyway, he said, "What's your name, son?" Before I introduce you on, he said, "It's Rio." He's like, "Right, okay, Rio." He said, "I'll tell you what, I'll write it on my hand." He was like, "It's 3 letters, do you know what I mean? It's not exactly hard to remember." He wrote it on his hand, and he's done his standard intro that he does with every act he walks on. He said, "Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got cracking turn coming on now. Seen him up the road last week." He didn't. He lived in Manchester. Do you know what I mean? He never saw him up the road last week. He said, "Please welcome the fantastic, brilliant guitarist and vocalist," gets his name, looks on his hand and goes, "R10. You just think... They're just brilliant stories.
Is that the raffle numbers? Blimey, that's crazy.
Yeah, because he wrote Rio on his hand, and then he was like, "Oh, his name must be R10." Do you know what I mean? And then the singer walked on, and he went, "We're not playing battleships, mate." You know.
I bet he sunk after that. That was. I tell you what, I miss those clubs. There is no clubs anymore. There's no social clubs. The Conservative or Labour clubs, they don't put cabarets on anymore. They run out of money way before COVID. So did you do any of the clubs? Because I really miss those characters, you know, in the car park.
I still do the odd ones. And it's funny because last one I done, I mean, it's weird because you go and do the comedy circuit, right? And it's like the audience are there for comedy. Yeah. So it's just a dream to play. And then you turn up to a club and you're like, "Do you know where I'm working for my money tonight?" You know, and it's still the same. You know, it's still the same.
Felix Nights. Yeah.
Oh, Stranraer. Oh, Jeremy Angina. Do you know, there's always a Brian Potter, isn't there? Wherever you go, there's always.
That's what I miss. Yeah.
That was genius what Peter Kay done. And the thing is, I used to be a glass collector in a club. So that's where I sort of got in.
I was. Yeah.
And did it give you inspiration when you used to watch the acts and go, "Oh, that's what I want to do when I'm older"?
Well, I was... because I was glass collecting and I told them I was a ventriloquist, they said, "Do you want a gig?" And it was probably my first cabaret venue was in that. I was 14, 15, and they give me my first cabaret job. And I'd done half hour, and I ripped the piss out of the barman, you know, the manager of the club. And
they don't like that, do they?
No, they did. They loved it. They loved it because I was
the manager.
Oh yeah, because I was like glass collector, you know, and he was the the manager of the whole club, you know, and I ripped he's on Facebook now, and he still reminisces about it 35 years later. It's crazy. But yeah, I do miss those characters. Peter Kay was brilliant, wasn't he? It created, created it.
I went in a club before, and it was in Newcastle, and I went to go and sit down, and this bloke goes to me, "Whoa, son, you can't sit there. That's Jimmy's seat." And I'm like, "All right, okay." So I went to move somewhere else. When "You can't sit there, that's Alan's seat." I went, "Mate," I said, "when are these people coming in?" I said, "Because I'll just move." He went, "They're not. They're all dead. But show some respect." I thought, look, no wonder people aren't coming in anymore. You know what I mean?
That's genius. So where did you grow up, Danny? Are you from Newcastle? Are you
Hartlepool? I'm from there.
So okay.
Yeah, I mean,
apologies.
The clubs. No, it's all right. The thing is,
I got your name right, but your town wrong.
When people from down south speak to Northerners, we all just sound the same, to be honest, to a lot of people. So that's why I became an impressionist, so I could stand out, you know. But no, it's you know, I started, you know, when I was a kid. I mean, I always wanted to be a footballer, really, when I was a kid, and then I got into doing martial arts and MMA and all that stuff. So during my life, right, I wanted to be David Seaman, then I wanted to be Bruce Lee, and now I just want to be an impressionist. I wanted to be Alistair McGowan, so I'm sort of nearly there.
But you could be all them people. I'm
gonna stick with the Alistair McGowan thing, I think, because I'm sort of halfway there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna stick with this. And also, you don't have to be like really fit to do it. You can just, you know, be lazy and do voices. So I prefer.
While you're eating donuts, yeah.
While you're eating donuts, exactly. Yeah. So I thought, oh, great. But yeah, so like I say, I tell you how it started off with me is when I was at school, I used to do impressions of all my teachers.
Okay.
And then my French teacher, Miss Rout, she says to me, "Oh, do you want to do the talent show?" And I was like, "Oh God, that must be hard, you know, getting up and doing stand-up." And I said, "Yeah." And then I ended up winning the talent show, doing, you know, who was I doing then? I was doing Steve Irwin, God rest his soul. I mean, he was a hero of mine. I was doing Beckham. Oh, it's Kilroy. I used to do Kilroy. Remember when Kilroy was on the telly?
Silky, yeah.
Yeah, I used to do him. There was loads of people. And then I was doing little bits of stand-up in between, you know. And like I say, I won that. Done a gig of the last day at school doing all my teachers. And I thought, you know what? This would be a nice little life, this, you know, making people laugh. And then once you actually get into it and you start doing gigs and you realise how tough it is, the fact that you've got to hone your stuff and you know, playing to some clubs. I mean, I was playing some clubs 18-year-olds do even charity gigs where you think, oh, the audience might be all right because it's for charity. Not they sat there with their arms full. Nice, come on then, son. Come on then, son. Make me laugh. You know, and that's what it was like. And it's the best training ground, I think, if you're an entertainer doing those clubs.
It's amazing. But do you think, because you're down south now, aren't you? Do you think there is I don't want to say divide, but I mean, is there a difference in the audience from north to south? Are they tougher up there? They seem to be.
I don't think so. It might be just because I'm from up north and I'm just used to it. I feel like when you play up north, you feel like, I don't know, the worst gigs I think is when you're in your hometown because people know you.
Yeah.
So they feel like they've got a license to join in whenever they want. You know. So
yeah. Oh, he'll be all right with me. Yeah. I went to school with him. So he'll love this.
Yeah. So you're telling a story or you're doing a voice or something. And then they might just correct you on it and go, well, that never happened, Dan. Well, no, I know it didn't. But what I'm doing is I'm exaggerating for comic effect. So the people actually, that was the original story, just wasn't funny. Yeah. You know.
Ice and Teeth.
So you've got the bug. And where did you get your groundwork? Was it clubs? Or did you go straight into comedy clubs? Did you want to do the comedy path?
But you know, it was really weird because when I started off, I was doing like the clubs and a few different, you know, venues and stuff like that. But then I was also having day jobs. My first proper job, really, my first contract was when I worked out in Mallorca. And I went out there as a singer and a comedian. And this Spanish agent, and I was 20 and I was like, oh man, I'm a legend. I'm a comedian. I'm going out. I'm doing the hotels. But I turned up at one hotel and I'm just getting nothing from this audience. There was only 5 in anyway. And I thought, well, it's understandable. There's 5 people in there. And I says, look, I said, is there anything that you're not getting here? I said, because like, I'm trying to entertain you and you're just not giving me anything back. I mean, I can sing for you if you want.
That's nice.
And they just didn't respond to me. And it turned out that none of them could speak English. So my agent was sending me to these hotels. And you're pulling your puddings out, aren't you? You're trying to work hard to get the audience back. And I was just getting nothing. So there was a few of them gigs, and it turned out I lost half of my gigs. And anyway, I managed to get myself a day job as an entertainer in this hotel. And it got to the point where financially I was screwed and I had no money. And funnily enough, I tell this story in my book that I've just brought out. It's called, well, it's on pre-sale at the minute. It won't be out till the 24th of May, called The Non-Essential Worker. Basically, what happened is I couldn't afford to pay me bills. So I was homeless. I mean, I could either sleep in my van, but I thought if I sleep in my van, the Guardia will pull me over and be like, why are you sleeping in a van? all that stuff. And they're the last people you want to get on the wrong side of. So I ended up, I had the keys for the sauna. So I slept in the sauna one night, right? So what I did is I thought, right, here we go. I've got a plan here. So I thought I'll sleep in the sauna, but I thought, well, the sauna's got a hard, it's wood in it. So I thought, well, but then I've also read up that, sleeping on a hard surface can be good for your back. I believe all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I thought, well, I'm going to have to get a pillow. Well, the mascot for the hotel was called Sonny the Elephant. Like Haven have got Bradley Bear and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they had Sonny the Elephant, right? So I thought, well, I'll put this elephant's head on and that'll be my pillow because it had it had a massive mouth so I could breathe as well. So that's all right. So anyway, I'm asleep and I thought, I'm getting this. This is all right, I'm getting to sleep in the sauna. I'd had a few sherbets, to knock me out. So I'm laid there, 6 o'clock in the morning, I hear this scream. So I've woke up. It turned out it was the cleaner. The cleaner must have thought there was someone dead, in the sauna with an elephant's head on, right? And she must have thought I was into really weird, kinky stuff. Do you know what I mean? I've got an elephant's head on. I'm in my pants. It just
So you're in your trunks with a trunk. Yeah.
Yeah, basically that's what it was, mate. Yeah. And anyway, after that, the hotel manager, Helen, who I got on really well with, she gave me a hotel room, which was a 5-star hotel room for the rest of the room for the last month of my contract. I was still doing the gigs. I was still doing the odd gig as well, but it sort of made me learn very quickly doing that. And then after I thought, you know what, I need to go back to the drawing board. And then I went out on a cruise ship, the Island Escape, for 9 months as an entertainer. And there I was doing my act every week at the end of the week. But I was following a comic who'd been on 3 times, which was good. And it made me hone my stuff. And not only that, it makes you become more original because you think, well, you can't start doing all the old gags because they've been done. So you need to find an act that makes you different, and I was doing more material then as opposed to impressions. And then the impressions developed, because it was Paul Eastwood who says to me, funnily enough, I was talking to Paul the other day and he was not, because I talk to Paul every other day. He's one of my best mates,
It's great.
He went, how's it going, boy? I said, yeah, good. I said, I've just been doing a bit of training, I've been doing a bit of pad work because I like, me and my mates sometimes do a bit of pads, hitting pads, kicking pads. And he goes, he said, well, the only pads I'm aware of is the ones that are in my car, my brake pads. He said, you've got issues, boy. He's Paul's been a mate of mine for years and he's watched my career grow as well.
That's amazing, yeah.
And that's when Paul got me in with Anne George, and then I was doing the parks. And then after doing the parks, I started doing the comedy clubs. And then ever since then, it's just, you just work at it and work at it.
Yeah. The transition's not easy from comedy club to cruise ships or to holiday parks. They are 3 completely different audiences, Danny, aren't they? But you bring is you bring topical and you bring funny with the impressions as well. And you can adapt, and you do adapt. I've seen you adapt over the past 12 months. And it's incredible to be able to go out there and say, I'm going to go and do a cruise ship, and then I'm in a holiday park tomorrow. Then I'm in the comedy club. I'm doing a TV spot. It's a wonderful thing because I guess we are variety acts. Me and you, I use the dummies and you use the impressions. Where we've got that extra ace up our sleeve, haven't we? Where you can entertain the whole family with what you do. Because you're a cartoon on stage, aren't you? In a way,
I suppose you are. Yeah, and it's interesting you should say that because I remember when I was doing Edinburgh. And I actually rang a woman to do me PR, and I was willing to pay this woman like a couple of grand to do me PR for me in Edinburgh,
Yeah.
And she says, well, I'm not sure whether I could deal with whether I'd be able to sell an old-fashioned variety act. I went, excuse me. I said, I'll tell you what, let's cut this conversation off now, because if I'm willing to pay you money and that's the ignorance that you have towards my art, then there's no point.
She's not going to be able to sell it.
And this is one thing, because I know you've done an interview with them before as well, the British comedy guy, who I think are a great.
They're brilliant. They're really supportive, aren't they?
They really are. And one of the questions I had was, what don't you like about the business? And I just said, well, I don't like the fact that when you go online and you see a comedian slagging off some other style of comedy, because it makes the industry look really bitchy when in actual fact it's not. I mean, yourself, right? You sit in a green room in a comedy club, you have the best time. You get to the point where you don't want to go on because you're enjoying yourself so much, you know? Yeah. And when comedians get together, it's great, but I don't like all this slagging off. Like I've seen, Mrs. Brown's Boys, right? They'll win an award. They're always winning awards. People love it. People absolutely love it, right? Then you look at comics going, oh, well, in the world's gone mad when Mrs. Brown's Boys is winning an award. I'm like, well, people like it, mate. And what you're doing there is you're limiting your audience by saying that, because it just goes to show what people are actually wanting. Definitely
losing the crowd. And so you have to cater, don't you, for the times as well. Time moves on and Mrs. Brown may fade out. I mean, they seem to be going strong even now, but something else will come along and something else will be bigger. It used to be Michael Barrymore 20 years ago. And so
do you know what?
He was Mr. Saturday Night,
Yeah, as much as the controversy, Steve, with him, he was the funniest man on telly, wasn't he? I mean, he was hilarious. Incredible.
I was a big fan. Yeah. It was so funny.
Fantastic.
It was unscripted, wasn't it? And unpredictable, which is what we loved about him. And Freddie Starr as well. And like, what are they going to do next? We tune in to Des O'Connor because we're like, what's Freddie going to do? Is he going to destroy the set or is he going to pull Des's trousers down? What are you going to do? He could go anywhere.
Can you remember that night where Des O'Connor thought his career was going to be over because he interviewed Oliver Reed, and then after that he interviewed Stan Boardman, and Stan Boardman done the Fokker routine.
Yes.
And honestly, I could just see Des just sinking into his chair.
It was live, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was live, and it was like he couldn't do anything about it. It was just so funny to watch.
What do I do now after these two acts? Yeah. Please welcome Freddie Starr. How could it get worse? It was genius. That is like a comedy sketch in itself, it's brilliant.
Oh, controversial.
I can see you writing a sitcom because just the elephant in your pants in a hotel in Spain is just a wonderful scene. You can get
I've actually wrote a sitcom.
Okay.
I actually wrote a sitcom about it.
Right.
And it was like one episode, a pilot episode, and it's called The Turn. Because up north they call us Tens.
Yeah.
But in fact, Jim McDonald calls herself a Ten, doesn't she?
Does she? Still,
and it's mad because people say. I remember I once met a friend of my auntie and uncle's, and I went out with them one night. They had a quiz night, and they're quite well spoken. And they went, "Oh, this is my nephew Dan," and she was like, "Oh, yes, you're a thespian, aren't you?" I'm like, "I'm not a thespian. I'm a Ten." Because I learned in the clubs. I didn't go to drama school or anything, proper turn. So I wrote a sitcom about, I've wrote loads of stuff over the years, but I think eventually, if you just keep writing and then eventually something does come out, you'll go, well, I've got all this as well, to show.
Yeah. And I got all my scripts out and I've been writing for the past 20 years. I've got a sitcom I started to write. There's like 4 episodes there. I got a couple of screenplays, all the jokes, the routines, and a lot of event-related gags and stuff. It started to get it out. It's like piled up here, as well as my book. I've finished editing the first draft of the book. It's going to take another 10 years to edit properly. But I mean, it's give us that creative time, hasn't it? In the last 12 months. Stuck at home, which it's been really difficult for our minds, but we've kept creative. I've seen you keep creative, and I've been able to do the same. And so to create all these ideas, and I've had a chance to get them out and look at them again, think this is actually a good idea. Okay, it's dated, it's like 20 years old, but this sitcom might work in this current situation, and you can adapt it. And the creative process has been wonderful, really, for people that do create,
It has massively because, when you're on the road all the time, Steve, yourself, you're like, I've been doing this routine for like 2 years, 3 years now.
Yeah, you get bored.
And it's not the fact that you're getting bored because it's honed and it's getting laughs. It's the fact that you want to throw some new stuff in. And I've had the ability to do that over the past. I mean, I've wrote a new show, which I'm hoping to take to the Edinburgh Festival next year it's called Yes, Stand Up Minister. And I got the idea because in Luxembourg, their prime minister's a comedian. And I thought, well, what would happen if it was in this country? Like Michael McIntyre would definitely, if he was Prime Minister, he'd wake everybody up in the House of Commons, wouldn't he?
That's
yes,
a great
ladies and
idea.
gentlemen,
I love it.
here we are at my favourite place. It's the House of Commons. Yes, wake up, everybody, wake up. I'm loving the fact that none of you have a clue what you are doing. Look at me, I'm on £300 a day expenses for falling asleep.
You can imagine Alan Carr as Mr. Speaker, in the big chair.
Well, do you know where I had Alan Carr? He'd be the Transport Secretary because of the second name. So I think that makes sense. I mean, honestly, I tell you what we need to do. We need to sort out those rail tracks. Do you know what I mean? Because honestly, have you ever been on a train when you go from one end to the other and you're elbowing one person, bumping into another? Honestly, it's like a scene from Ninja Warrior UK,
Oh, mate, that's a great idea. I really hope you do that. And so Edinburgh for you, I mean, it's a big process, isn't it? It's like, okay, here's 12 grand. You take that and I'll just come up and I'll do a show to 5 people, or I'll sell out 100 seats. Every day is going to be different, but you've got to be passionate about your work, and you are. So you go up there. You've done Edinburgh before, haven't you? How was that experience?
Well, when we first started in Edinburgh, it was called That Bloke Who Does Voices, which basically is exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
So everyone, and basically what I've done, it's weird because on the comedy circuit, they go, well, this is an Edinburgh show and this is a club set. And to me, I'm going, well, my club set was my Edinburgh show because my club set was getting laughs. So I thought, well, I went there to get laughs. Whereas some people, they say that an Edinburgh show is, it's interesting, it's this, it's that, it's theatrical and all these other different. But with me as a comedian, I've always just had the belief of I don't care what you talk about, I don't care what subject matter it is, as long as it's funny and it makes me laugh, I'll go and see it, But I get where they're coming from in that respect because there's so many different shows out there. So people want to see something that stands out, And I think to a reviewer with a show like That Bloke Who Does Voices is just like, I'm not going to go and see that because it doesn't really sound arty-farty. It just sounds like a guy doing a club set. And to be fair, it went well. I mean, I made my money back from what I spent.
Great. That's the first step, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is always a bun. But I had nobody in reviewing it, which was a shame. And I'm not sure whether it was the title but then I know that that's my hour in the bag. And then if I get another show out in Edinburgh next, which would be Stand Up Minister, I just think, well, that'll be, my next hour. So then eventually when you do go on tour, you have to tweak a few bits because of the topical purposes. I mean, it's really weird because people say to me, do you do Donald Trump still? I'm like, well, yeah, because he's still out there, isn't he? And because Biden, you never really hear from him apart from if he's falling up the stairs. I mean, do you know what, mate? Whatever your political beliefs, I actually did feel a bit sorry for him because I'm like, do you know what? He's getting on the bloke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Trump, Trump's this monster of a character, isn't he? So people still laugh at it, and I feel like they're laughing at it more now he's not president.
Where is he though? We don't know where he is, do we?
Well, he done a rally, didn't he? I think it was a couple of months ago. And I think he still appears on Fox News occasionally. And, and the thing is, he's just...
Is that him or is that you doing that?
I know, yeah. To be fair, I could get myself into trouble with that, couldn't I, Steve, to be honest? But, some of the things he comes out with are just... he invented catchphrase that you didn't have to write. For example, when he was calling, the COVID, he was calling it the Kung Flu, and things like that. You just go, wow, like... I don't even have to write anything there. I can just say something as Donald Trump and then call it the Kung Flu. People probably just laugh at that,
Oh, and that's incredible.
Having Boris as Prime Minister and having Trump as President is like Disneyland to an impressionist. I think. Because all you do is spin Trump's hair around and you've got Boris, haven't you? And I mean, to be fair, if I was Boris, one rule I would put out, even if it's, obviously we need to have a COVID restriction. What I would do is I would look at the state of my hair as it already is, and then I would look at the state of my hair that it's in now, and I would urgently open all barbers because I think it's very important as Prime Minister that he looks, people say he looks like Wurzel Gummidge with his hair now, but when characters are like that, it's just beautiful for an impressionist.
A lot of your impressions, these people have to have characters for you to do impressions. You can't do impressions of just straight people that haven't got that little spark about them? Do they always have to have a characteristic or something, or can you do anybody?
It's no, because you've got a voice range as well. Like, it's interesting. I was doing an interview called Making an Impression with Simon Lipson, and he basically just, like, I was talking to him, and he said, "You've got a high pitched voice, haven't you?" I said, "I have." I said, "Because I can't do people like Morgan Freeman. I can't do Morgan Freeman. I can't do Simon Cowell. But when it comes to like Sarah Millican, I can go quite high. You know what I mean? I can do her, which is lovely. But then people who can do Morgan Freeman can't do Sarah Millican. So you're obviously limited with what skills you've got, but at the same time, you've got to embrace. I mean, it's like Piers Morgan, right? So me and Francine Luce have been doing a couple of sketches, and Piers is someone. Well, I can do the rant as Piers Morgan. It's not like I'm losing my breath, but I can't do the voice that in his normal voice.
Right.
It's really weird. So
he has to be angry and high pitched.
It's got to be the angry, high pitched version,
which is most of the time.
Yeah, when he loses it on telly, Yeah. But it's funny because I started doing him. We were doing sketches, and then all of a sudden he leaves Good Morning Britain. I'm like, oh, come on.
Oh, I know.
Stay on for a bit longer.
Yeah. If it's a visual sketch you're doing, all you got to do is take those earphones out and just walk out the door, and that's Piers at the moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just quit. But yeah, the impressions you do are spot on. And my wife Nina, she's been watching you the past year as well, and she's get, oh my God, he's so great at that, and he is so funny as well. And it's a compliment when the material is as good as the impression as well, and you can you give that, don't you? You really put a lot into it.
Well, that's a compliment I've had from a few people, and I really appreciate that, and it means a lot coming from a fellow performer like you as well, Steve. And that's the difficult thing when you're writing topical stuff. Sometimes I watch my stuff back and I go, oh, that's a bit half-baked. But I feel like I get away with it, and I think when you're writing all the time, I mean, I read a book, what was it called again? It was about writing comedy. And this guy, I'm trying to look for it on my shelf now, I can't see it. It'll be somewhere in the house. But I was reading it, and he basically was saying the people who come up with good stuff all the time are people who write all the time. He said it's like a weightlifter going to the gym. You've got to constantly do that to stay in shape. And it's the same with writing. And because all these topical things have been happening, but it's mad, I'll write something. 2 weeks later, it's just not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of writing topical material, because you think, well, I'm not going to use this in the act. But then sometimes you can think, well, that's timeless. So I could maybe put her in, into my act somewhere.
That's brilliant. It's good to be topical though. I like doing that. I do try and keep topical, and then trying to write to go back out, because fingers crossed we're going back to work in May, and you get some Warners, or you get some Butlins, whatever comes in. It's difficult to write completely for then, because if you are topical, because then you might have to change it in 2 months when we go back to work. So it's
exactly,
yeah. But I mean, for someone that writes, it's quite easy to do that, really.
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, when I was doing Butlins, funny enough, I had a couple of months stint where I was doing Butlins, and I think you did as well, when we were allowed back out.
Yeah.
And I remember there was everyone had to order the drinks on the apps. And I said, give us a cheer. I said, if you're sick of ordering drinks on the apps. And they went, yeah. I said, and give us a cheer if you're old and have to rely on your daughters to order drinks for you on the app because you don't know how to use it. And they were all going, yeah. I think everyone it annoys me how technology seems to be taking over.
Yeah,
and I think, well, come on, just go back to, it's like the self-service checkout, I'm like, I think about the elderly. And I think about these people who are on their own, right? Especially in this pandemic, right? Because what you've got is they're sat there on their own, and when they go for a day out to the supermarket, it's nice for them to chat to the checkout person, and it's nice for them to have
they want that human connection.
The human connection, it picks them up, and I feel like with these self-service chat, they're just not really, it doesn't really do anything.
It takes it away.
Just you turn up, you get your groceries, you come home, and it's like, what joy do you have out of that?
Sad world, isn't it?
It's really sad.
Yeah, we're lucky we've got something in our lives really that creates smiles and laughter for people, and if we can make ourselves laugh while we're doing it, that's a great job. Now I've just been signed up to do a couple of days in Chroma this summer, and I think the first I heard of you, I think, was when you were working in Chroma. I did Britain's Got Talent, and they done a video when I was in between semi-final and final. There was a wild card proposal which Chroma came up with. They done this little video and posted, and I saw it a couple of months ago, and I didn't know that you were there at that time. And you were in that video.
I was in that group of people saying Steve Hewlett for the wild card. But speaking of topical things, Steve, as well, I loved it when you've done that Simon Cowell thing and Sunita.
Yeah.
I mean, when you've done that, sorry, it's normally you asking me questions, but I'm actually quite interested.
No, it's fine.
Did they make those puppets for you, or did you go, oh my God, I need to quickly get these together?
They were made very quickly for me, actually. The one of them was an old puppet which I had converted. So I found this guy that makes puppets in Portugal. I asked him if he could turn this puppet into Simon Cowell. It was already a male puppet with dark hair. And Nina, my wife, it was her idea, said, I think you should get a Simon Cowell puppet for the show. So I sent him away. He came back 2 weeks later. He had the sunglasses. How you saw him on that show was how he turned up in the semi-final show. You know, he had no hair on the chest or anything. So I come up with that. And then when I got through, and they said, you might be the wild card. And thank you so much, bless you, by the way, for that video from Chroma. That was great to see you on there. Thanks for your support. But then they said, okay, you've got 4 days. Can you get another puppet made up? And I said, it's going to be very difficult. And they said, will it be a judge? And I said, what about Sunita? I said, Sunita, I think will be funnier. Simon and Sunita. I didn't know what I was going to do, but they said, okay, go ahead. So I already had the Simon Cowell puppet. But after the show, they said, what did it cost you to get turned into Simon Cowell? And it was like £400. And they paid that, which was nice because I'd done that pre-BGT, just hoping I was going to use it. And then they paid the fee of the Sunita puppet, which cost £2,000. So it was quite nice for them to cover those costs because I couldn't afford it. You know, I didn't earn anything doing the show. It's just what happens at the other end of it. You know that. You come out the final and hope you get gigs.
It is. It's weird, isn't it? Because you do it, right? And you're going, well, I obviously cancel some gigs to do it. But not only that, I was there for the week because they were like, right, we need you here for this. We need you here for that. You're on Lorraine, then you're on this morning, then you're doing this. So you need to be here. And, we need to make sure that, you're available for this. So you're there all week and you go, well, I've just cancelled a lot of gigs and that's like my bread and butter, But at the same time, you're going, well, this is going to get me more work. So it's a bit of a difficult one, isn't it? It's funny.
It is. You're holding on.
Yeah. When I was doing the semi-final, I was just really nervous. And to be fair, it was the wrong way to go about it. But I was, I'd have a couple of drinks to calm me down. And anyway, I said to the bouncer, I got on with the bouncer really well. I said, look, any chance I can nip out and have a couple of beers, just to relax me a little bit. He went, yeah. He said, but make sure you're back. I'll just say you've got the toilet or something. I said, right, okay. So I've nipped out a fountain. Was it Fountain Studios you done as well?
Yes, it was. Yeah, and it went Wembley, isn't it? Yeah.
So if you come out of Fountain Studios and take a right, there's a load of bars on the left-hand side. So anyway, I've walked into this bar and it's packed. And they all just stopped. All the bar just stopped. And I'm going, oh my God, this is like the first time I've ever been recognised for being on the telly. Like, it was amazing, but a bit sort of like nerve-wracking at the same time because I thought, well, this might be the audience that are coming in to watch the show. Anyway, I walked in and it was really weird because I could hear the sounds of my own footsteps when I walked in. And I've ordered a drink. I said, can I have a bottle of Desperado, please? And the whole pub was looking at me. And there's these two women talking, whispering to each other, looking over, whispering, looking over. And the bartender didn't know whether to serve me or not, which was really strange. So the lady comes over and I went, oh, hey, darling, you're all right, expecting that she'd recognise me from the telly. She says, oh, this is a private party. Could you please leave? He's me thinking. Talk about brilliant. Bringing yourself back down to earth.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. There's a story I've told on here. I've told it a few times, but it's I come out of the semi-finals and then I'm really happy. I got kicked out. Simon Cowell chose the singer. So, okay, Saturday night, I just had a great spot. And yeah, I'm not in the final, but I'm going to go and celebrate, get some Prosecco, cook my wife a roast dinner. So I walked up to the M&S garage around the corner. I've got the bottle of Prosecco. A few people recognize me and they're smiling, go, well done last night. Oh, thank you. And then I get in the queue, loads of people behind me and the card declines. so my debit card doesn't work. So bright red, turn around, everyone's kind of smiling, and I'm like, I'll come back and pay. I just need another card. And so, and I was around the corner. I was about 5 minutes later, and I knew there was money on it, but it's just the realization. Saturday night prime time, 12 million people watching. A couple of people.
Everyone thinks you're skint.
Yeah, well, I was because I'm an entertainer. But it was just that back down to earth moment, And then I got a phone call to say I'm going to be on the final, which was great. But so it's really nice when I was on BGT, I got to do this. You've done the final, and you get messages from your peers, like Paul Zerdin, Jimmy Townley, Nina Conti, or sent me best wishes and well done on the spot. And it seems like your community of the Impressionists are really close as well. And I've seen pictures of you with Bobby Davro and Mike Yarwood, Alison McGowan, and all you kind of, John Coleshaw, you all know each other. Francine Lewis.
We all know each other, but we all know each other, but I wouldn't say it's as close as, comics in general, right? Because I feel like there's always that element of competition, I was talking to Francine about this actually, and like Francine doesn't seem to think, and I'm the same, that Impressionists are sort of as close as like comedians or ventriloquists. I mean, magicians, they actually have a magic convention for everybody.
I went last year, whereas, 3,000 of them.
Yeah. So you think like, obviously they're all doing the same job. Like, I mean, the whole thing about show business is wanting to be different. So what you do is you pick something which makes you different than everybody else. But when you realize there's 3,000 other people who do what you do, it must be a little bit. But then I don't know, there's the acceptance factor of, there's not just you who does that, which is nice actually, because I mean, the beauty of impressions now, and I spoke to Mike Yarwood about this, I mean, that is a massive name drop I'm going to pick up from the floor.
Well, he's a legend, isn't he? He's the master. He's brilliant to look up to.
And the thing is as well, he put the fame of Impressionism on the map, because I think we were talking about this off air, of the fact that, there was nobody before him really who was famous as an impressionist. I mean, I can imagine there'll have been people on the circuit, there'll have been people going out gigging, but no one was, was on TV as famous as what Mike Yarwood was. I mean, you're looking at, I mean, he was telling me, I think he had how many 30 million viewers I think he had once when he had ABBA on his show.
Yeah, and 4 channels, like, I think. Yeah, incredible.
And I says to him, do you think it was easier when you done it, or do you think it's easier now when I do it? I said, because I could just go on YouTube and learn a voice, whereas you had to watch tapes. And he said it was easier when he done it, because he only had 4 channels. Oh, it was 3 channels back then, wasn't it?
But yeah, it was. Mate, I've got to get at the door. Someone's ringing that bell. Sorry.
No worries, mate. No worries.
Sorry, man.
Right.
Won't be a sec. Sorry, bud.
You know what's funny, right? So, talking about people being at the door, I will digress. I will come back to the story I was telling about Mike Yarwood, right? I was doing some personalised voice messages as Donald Trump, and I had about 4 that day. So I'm dressed up in full makeup as Donald Trump, and I'm doing the messages for people, recording them. But people are giving me scripts to learn as well, so I'm doing all that. Wow. So I was dressed up as Donald Trump for like 4 hours, and anyway, I had a parcel. Forgetting that I'm dressed up as Donald Trump, I actually answered the door as Donald Trump. This bloke must have been thinking, who's this weirdo who dresses up as Donald Trump?
Kinky. Kinky Trump.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Funny.
But so speaking about Mike Yarwood, he just said it was easier when he done it because, you had channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's why I think there's so many more impressionists now, because if you look at the likes of Al Forani, there's a lot of sports people. You look at the likes of Schaefer Bates, he does, Game of Thrones. And I mean, he does a few good mainstream people like Ramsey, Luke Kempton does a lot of reality TV people. And I tend to do a lot of light entertainment, the Paddy McGuinness, your Keith Lemons, your Piers.
So you've got your genres. Yeah, you pick the genres. And there's some that you do. I think
I do a few. Yeah, I do a few more politicians as well, And I've started doing with Judge Rinder. Well, Judge Rinder shared my impression.
Did he really? Nice. I've recently seen your Judge Rinder, which is fantastic. And I've never seen anybody do Lee Evans. Never. And your Lee Evans is it's brilliant. I'm a big Lee Evans fan. So when you've done Lee on Britain's Got Talent, it just, with the audience as well, it was a big hit.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is as well, I do actually impersonate a lot of comics because I just love watching stand-up, But I haven't caught up on. I haven't really caught up on the most recent famous stand-up people. You know, I mean, I should really be learning people like Joe Lycett, like Tom Allen. You know, because I mean, they've got distinctive voices that I think I'll be able to get, and they're actually within my voice range as well.
Yes,
you know?
and when they're on the big hit TV shows like Bake Off as well, and Tom Allen is hosting, they're the perfect ones to do. Matt Lucas, because they're all actually out there, aren't they? So you're reaching a bigger audience as well.
It's really weird because when I do people like McIntyre now, they're my safe ones to go to. Alan Carr's, but when I first started doing them, they were about as famous as people like Joe Lycett and Tom Allen, you know. So it was really weird. It used to be hit and miss, but when people got it, they were like, "Oh, that's brilliant! That is so different, so refreshing, so original," you know. And then you see a lot of people doing McIntyre, and you know, I mean, people like John Bishop as well, you know, Jimmy Carr. Those people now are massively famous.
Yeah,
so they're great people.
Huge, aren't they? I saw this thing this morning of you, and it was Brian Potter calling Joe exotic. How do you come up with something like that? It was fantastic. It's genius.
It was
exotic.
Brian Potter. He's ringing Joe Exotic to play the Phoenix Club. when you come out of jail, son. We'll be packed. We'll be packed. You know. You know. But see, that's another one. Joe Exotic's out of date now. I was doing him.
Yeah, it's a year ago.
There was a time when Tiger King was massive, wasn't it?
Yes.
And when I was doing him, it was like people loved it. It was just people were going mental for it, you know.
Carol Baskin is bigger now. Carol's bigger.
Oh, did you see that video she done?
Yes, it was the personalized video, wasn't it?
It was.
Who was the genius?
Honestly,
who was the genius that sent that message?
It was hey, you cats and kittens, Carol Baskin here. I'd like to wish my very good friend Val Harris and Jimmy Savile. She called him Jimmy Savile.
She poshed it up, which made it sound, you know, more lighthearted.
Oh, honestly, when I watched that, right, I mean, it's one of them things that you watch about 20 times and you just still can't stop laughing at it, you know. But whoever requested that, you're right, is an absolute genius.
You do pick big winners, and the big winner for you has been Diane Abbott as well, hasn't it? And she seems to make a few mistakes which brought her to the spotlight, but you kind of just carried that on for her. Now, have any of these celebrities, have you felt the wrath of them? Did she block you on Twitter? Or
yeah, she blocked me on Twitter.
Did she?
But do you know what? Right? You see, I actually got called a racist for doing an impression.
Really?
Right. Which is really weird because, and then, you know, someone messaged me and went, do Priti Patel, because she messed her numbers up as well. So I've done a sketch where Priti Patel called up Diane Abbott for advice on how to deal with the backlash of getting the numbers wrong.
Really?
So I'm like, well, you know, I've took the mick out of a Tory and I've took the mick out of someone from the Labour Party. So go on then, come at me. And no one had a go at. No one says you're a racist for doing Priti Patel. But they seem to have a go at me because I've done Diane Abbott. And I feel like, I tell you what annoys me, Steve, right, is the fact that people call other people a racist. They look for racism when it doesn't exist, which I think is very dangerous, because when racism actually does exist, it could sort of it's like the boy who cried wolf, you know?
Yeah.
And it's really dangerous. But the thing is, right, Diane Abbott has just been so comical. I mean, she was on recently, I mean, she was on about... you know, I've done a sketch with her and Priti Patel recently, actually, because they were accusing her of gaslighting. And when I done Diane accusing her of gaslighting, Diane Abbott thought that gaslighting was starting a fire and trying to burn down the House of Commons. So it's just having a twist on the words, you know.
It's
and
that's so topical, though. It gives you that creative license, doesn't it, to be topical, but she's writing it for you, like you say, it's there for you already, the material.
And so did Donald Trump, and so does Boris. You know, and I mean, what was that line that Boris Johnson said? And I shared a video doing it, and it was basically it was a rhyme. Can you remember when he said it? I can't exactly remember what it was.
No, I do.
It was like it was a rhyme, wasn't it? And
and I picked up on it.
Yeah. And then I picked up on it and I've done a little thing. And then I said, well, I've got to say, when I finish being Prime Minister, I will be selling out arenas as a comedian because I'm a comedy genius, you know, because it's like, you know, he probably thinks if he's trying to be funny, he'll get people on board. When in actual fact, you're like, no, mate, just get on with the job that you're supposed to do because, you know, everything's gone to rat shit at the minute. We need things sorting out, you know.
I know. We also need comedy out there, don't we? So we need people to keep the spirits up. And you've certainly done that over the past year. So do you come up with brainstorms when you write your material? Because you've got all these sketches and you've just put them out and you've just created your own fan base over the last year, which is, you know, just skyrocketed really you because of the work that you put in. So you've got these. I saw something last week, I think, when somebody was reading names and you just bang 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 bang, you just do the impression, just one line.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
Well,
tests the skill.
It does, because the thing is, people see me do sketches and they go, well, it's funny, but then I think people forget and they take it for granted and they don't realize that, you know, how hard you work and how many voices you can do. And I bet it's the same with you as a vent. I think what they do is they'll watch your act and 20 minutes in, they just take it for granted and they forget that you're actually being a ventriloquist because they're looking at the puppets and they're watching the show and they forget what skill actually goes into what you do.
Yeah, I should cap the show at 20 minutes, to be honest, from now on.
That's what it is. Well, do you know what I'd done when I was in Edinburgh and a mate of mine come to watch me and someone walked in late when I was 20 minutes into my set. And I went, oh, I'll go through what you've missed. And I went through every single voice that I'd done up until then as a recap to what I've just done. And wow. And my mate Dave went, do you know what? He said, people have took for granted what you're doing. And then what that done was it made them remember that actually, do you know what? It takes a hell of a lot. Not skill, but it's time and effort to get the voices and everything right.
Yeah,
it's the
definitely.
Same for you.
Yeah, but to go through it all again, you know, for those people that are there, it's great for the person that's walked in, but these people will go, yeah, he did that. Oh my God, he's doing that again. And then they get to see your talent all over again, but in a microwave, you know, and then
absolutely.
In a few seconds.
That's why I've done that video. I mean, I've seen it done before. Al Foran's done it. I think Schaefer Bates has done it. So what I thought was, it'll be a nice little sort of to get impressionists together. I nominated Francine Lewis, then she done it, then she nominated Darren Altman, then he done it.
Brilliant.
Then Darren nominated Adam Deagle, I think he's called. Adam Deagle's a brilliant, I mean, he doesn't do stand-up, thank God, because he's amazing. But he's so good. I mean, I've done Partridge, right? But I watched his Partridge and I went, wow, that Partridge is just spot on. You know, because I think what you do as an impressionist, you've got a select number of voices where you go, that's a banker, that's about, like, I'd say I've got about 20 voices that I know are absolutely spot on. And then the rest are sort of maybe 60, 70% there.
Okay.
Piers Morgan, 70% there, 60% there, you know. So I asked Bobby Davro to come on a video that I was doing with Francine Lewis. Anyway, he couldn't do it eventually. So I had to have a go at Aussie. And my Aussie's like 50%, but I got away with it, you know, I got away with it a bit, like, you know. But it's like I can only say certain words and I can sort of cheat it. You know?
Yeah. But you do a good Bobby Davro actually as well. Not many impressionists do impressionists, but I was speaking to you on the phone once, and you did do a good Bobby Davro.
Well, that's dreadful. That's dreadful. When you do Bobby, do you know what? Do you know there's a? Do you know Russ Kane?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Russ Kane, right, is just the loveliest man you'll ever meet. And whenever I'm on the phone to him, he just says to me, Dan, can you just not do your Bobby? Because he just falls, he just collapses with laughter. Because everybody knows what Bobby's like when you meet, Danny, do you know what? I've had 4 gigs this week, and he tells you how much he's earned. And, it's dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And I'm going, it's hard life, innit, Bob? You know. But Bobby's great. I mean, me and Bobby do this routine where he gets me up on stage. It basically started, right, because he was doing a gig and I went along with him. And I was at the bar having a couple of drinks. He went, so I'm going to get my good friend up there, Danny Posthill, who is my impressionist coach. And I'm going, what? Like, so he gets me up and he does McIntyre, then I topped it. Then he done John Bishop, then I topped that. Then he done Sarah Millican, then I topped that. Wow. So, but it's a bit of like a panto gag, really. So he's getting a bit annoyed because I'm outdoing him. And in the end, he goes, he went, you've done all these people better than me. Who else do you do? And then I do an impression of Bobby, and then he kicks me off, you know. So
that's brilliant. It's so nice because he's championed you, hasn't it? And he was one of the biggest impressionists on television in the 80s.
People forget that he was the Ant and Dec of his time, wasn't he?
Yeah, huge.
there's not many performers who, which I mentioned in my book as well, there's not many performers like Bobby who are so generous that they would give you that platform.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's really good. I love Bobby.
Oh, contributional.
This job that we're in, we do love doing that. Obviously, we miss tremendously. Can't wait to get back in the car and do it. But we've been able to travel around the world and like do corporate gigs and work with people you never dreamed of meeting. And I've seen pictures of you on your website, which is a great website, by the way. And people can get personalized messages on there, and they can go to your website, which I'll put on at the end of this. But there's pictures of you with the top people. Are you a sports fan? Are you a big sports fan? Because this must mean almost like a dream come true for you to be working with these people.
Well, people like that, to be honest, right, I've lost interest in me football the past 10 years, but I used to love me football. So like when I'm working with people like Gaza, he's like a great bloke, really nice man. And Gaza was just amazing. It was lovely to meet him. Alan Shearer, he was a really nice guy. Who else? Billy Joe Saunders, I met him. I mean, I'm more of a fan of MMA than I am of boxing, but I still, I respect Billy Joe Saunders. He's an amazing talent, amazing athlete, So it was nice to work with him. So these are when you do the corporate sort of sporting dinners.
Yeah, the sporting dinners. And they're a certain audience, aren't they? But I imagine you can really rip the Mickey out of the football managers, and the teams would love you. They'll be on your side. Because again, you're being topical.
It's really weird, mate, when you talk about that, because when I do these sporting dinners, I mean, I more or less do my normal set when I do my comedians and stuff like that, and I do my Boris's, and I'll throw Gaza in, I'll throw Conor McGregor in there, and people like that. But because I don't watch football enough, people say to me, "Oh, do you do this person? Do you do?" I mean, I can get away with, I just get away with a bit very redneck, he's a great bloke, what was it, Jim Rowdy Bowlers and all that stuff, So you can get away with people. You can get away with people like that, but I haven't really watched football enough to get the voices right, But generally the audiences I like when I do a corporate, I like a work event where they're a mixed audience. So I can do me, basically people who are on the telly, like sort of mainstream entertainers, people like Paddy McGuinness, Keith Lemon, and then obviously your politicians,
Yeah, and Judge Rinder, you just got to see who comes out on Strictly, and see who's popular at that time. You've met people like Billy Connolly. These must be comedy heroes: Billy Connolly, Les Dennis, Nigel Farage, all these people, and you're able to do, their voices as well. Did you do Billy Connolly when you met Billy? Is it, or was you? No, is that a no?
The whole story about how I met him's in the book as well.
Okay, I want people. Probably don't tell that story, because we want people to buy your book. Where can we get your book, Danny?
So
and it's coming out in May, isn't it? 2021.
It's coming out 24th of May. You can get it on pre-sale now with a discount code, which is it's on my Twitter. It's called The Non-Essential Worker. So basically, I talk about being an entertainer in lockdown, but then I also digress and talk about other stories in it, and basically talk about how difficult it is to become an entertainer in the first place before you even get to a stage, and then all of a sudden all your work's taken away from you. And I talk about, I've thought about getting another job, and I've thought about, what do I do? And just the situation that I'm in, people say if you're going to write something autobiographical, you've got to be famous to do that, which I'm not. I mean, I've had a little bit of telly, but I'm not famous, But I think because of the circumstances, I've got a license to write a book about it,
Yeah.
So it's, and a mate of mine encouraged me to do it. So, to be fair, the government told me to retrain, and I thought, well, I've got a C in GCSE English, so I thought I might as well retrain as an author, So
the cover of your book is brilliant. It's such a great shot, and you posted that last week, and it's just basically dropping the microphone, really, isn't it? It's like
it's me with a mic, looking confused, with an empty theatre behind me.
It just it paints a million stories, that one picture, but I can't wait to read it. I'm gonna get the book. I'm going to enjoy that. I love my biographies, and I love stories as well. So, and funny people. And Danny, you're amazing at what you do, mate. And thank you for sharing it with the world. And we want more people to listen into you and follow you. And if they got birthdays, they can get birthday messages direct as well. We'll send all that their way.
Yeah.
But mate, it's always a pleasure, and I'm always showing Nina the phone, and I say, it's Danny again. Danny's done another one, so I'm passing her the phone, and she's just sees videos of you on there. But don't stop doing it, mate, because one day, it's going to be that one special person that connects with, and it's just going to be a viral thing. That's what we're aiming for, really, at the end of the day with the work, you know, and you deserve that. You deserve that for not stopping, mate. And
bless you.
Yeah, and break a leg when we get back out there again. It'd be nice to work with you, because strangely, I don't think we've ever worked together. But
we've never met, actually. Funnily enough,
we've never met. I feel like I have met you, but we haven't.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because I think because we all understand what each other does, you know, and I think, you know, we know the game inside out once you get into it. So you sort of, you know how we all tick. So it's like, it's really weird. And obviously where it's funny is we have this running gag, right? You know, when anybody's, it's quite awful, really, but it's funny at the same time. When anybody's died, right?
Yes.
You tend to have a photograph with them, right?
I'll let you finish.
So I'm like, do you know what? I'm not getting a photograph of Steve Hewlett because I feel like he's the Grim Reaper, right? So when anyone dies,
I was going to say to you, is it because of what you said last year? More celebrities have died. Steve's worked with all of them. He's got his arm around them. They're all dead. And I'm never going to work with Steve and get a picture with him. I'm going to avoid him.
With Steve because I'll probably die a week later.
Saying that, let's do it now, just in case one of us pop it. Here we go. Here he is.
Yeah. But it's funny because, you know, obviously it's quite morbid, but then I suppose comedy comes from tragedy sometimes, doesn't it? And I think, do you know what? I think I commented on it once and I thought, oh God, I shouldn't have said that because I don't know Steve well enough. Do you know what I mean? But it's really weird how social media can bring people together. Social media can be a horrible thing with trolls and stuff like that. Yeah. But it can also be a really nice thing where it brings people together.
Yeah.
So I felt, like you said, I felt like I already knew you before.
Sometimes you have to think. You think, have I met this person? And then it's, you know, it was just a Zoom call or something, you know. And I think Paul Eastwood told me that as well. We were chatting. I think when we recorded his Zoom, and he said, "Did you know that you're the Grim Reaper, Steve?" You what? And this might, yeah. Actually, there's another mate of mine I've just realised that said it. So. I'm going to calm down on the selfies, I think.
No, mate, just, you know, it's, keep doing it because it keeps it going. It keeps the humour going for us all. Do you know what I mean?
It means people are talking about you. I've always had a camera since I was a kid. You know, I had a paper round. I took pictures on that. It was literally, I just love taking pictures of people as well. I love, because we study people, don't we? And I guess that comes out in comedy. Yeah, you do more than me. Because I could never do Simon Cowell's voice or Sneeters, but I had puppets made up of them.
Yeah, but do you know what, mate? You've done them voices really well. Because, like I say, I can't get deep enough to do Simon Cowell, but I just find it so interesting when I watch Vents, and they can put this voice on, but then they're also hardly moving their lips. Like with me, if I've got to do a voice, I've got to really, you know, like when I do Gary Barlow, I've got to really open my mouth, you know.
You're really contorting your face to do Gary Barlow as well, the eyebrows. Yeah.
So when you're doing it as a vent, it's like, wow, it's even more skillful because you've got to do it by hardly not moving your lips, you know, which I think is quite an incredible skill to do.
Oh, thanks, mate. Well, you're an incredible skill. And thanks for the little impressions you've been doing throughout the show as well. It's been really nice to get to know you. And I hope we do get a selfie one day before you die would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be lovely, mate. But listen, it's been a pleasure. I've had a laugh, you know, and like I say, you know, you listen, it's standing the test of time, this podcast, and people are loving it. So I'm delighted to be on it.
Oh, bless you, mate. Thank you. I haven't even started publicizing it yet. It's just Facebook and Twitter. And at the moment, for people on Facebook and Twitter to think, oh, wow, this is going well. I haven't started with the PR yet. So when it does get out there, you'll see a lot more of that sharing. But there's magazines, there's websites and stuff across America. And so I'm going to try and get it out there bigger than what I have done. But at the moment, you're just recording and editing, you know. So
yeah, Steve, you're gonna be England's answer to Joe Rogan, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? You're gonna become the new Joe Rogan, and then once you become bigger than him, I'm going, I went on his podcast.
That's amazing. Firstly, just before we go, who's Joe Rogan?
You don't know Joe Rogan's basically the guy. Do you not know who Joe Rogan is?
I seriously don't.
Yeah,
I'm loving it though. Sounds great.
The only reason I know who he is because of MMA. He's an MMA commentator. He's a comedian. He used to host the show Fear Factor in America.
Oh, okay. Is he like one of those comedy roasts? You know, like the comedy roast people, or
I think he's done all that kind of stuff, but he's basically the king of the podcasts.
Okay.
And he basically does one, I think, every day. And I'm going,
right.
how is he getting that? You know, how does he have the energy to do this? You know, he's well worth watching. It's really funny.
I'm going to look him up now. I like hearing about new comedy talent.
Not just really funny, but just really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
So it's well worth watching.
Well, thanks for that, mate. And that's brilliant. Have you got that book? It's the Mike Yarwood book?
No, I'm gonna have to order it. I'm sure it'll be on Amazon.
Okay, yeah. Well, Amazon. You've got loads of books you haven't read, but I'll read that and just and I'll pass it on to you. So
oh, perfect. That'd be great.
Yeah, and I'll get it sent to you. Danny, have a great day, mate, and stay tight. Really good to see you, bud. Thanks.
Bless you, and you, Steve.
I like
Thanks
it on
a lot,
soon.
mate.
All right, bud. You're back on the road soon. Cheers, buds.
I know. Cheers, mate. See you later. Cheers, bye. Bye.
Eyes and teeth. Thanks, Danny. The Grim Reaper, indeed. It makes you think he may be right. Go and enjoy Danny's work on his website at www.dannyposthillofficial.com and Twitter at posthilldanny or Facebook as Danny Posthill. Today's quote comes from Rich Little. If I have a rough day and I'm angry, I'll just go into Kirk Douglas and throw over a table. And when I need to lift my spirits, Kermit can always do the trick. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Larissa, Lola and Nina Hewlett. Additional vocals by Rich T. The Eyes and Teeth music and jingles are produced and performed by Kevin Dean. Tune in for yet another great talent that joins me in Season 9 when I talk to the wonderful comedic skills of Johnny Mack.